My boyfriend went through my phone when I was asleep. How can I deal with his insecurities? The soft, gentle hum of my phone's vibration against the nightstand was like a whisper in the dark, tugging me out of a restless sleep. The room was bathed in a serene, moonlit glow, and I could just make out the shape of my boyfriend, Jake, lying next to me. He was snoring softly, a sound that usually comforted me, but tonight it seemed to grate on my already frayed nerves. I squinted at the screen to see the time. 3:47 a.m. The message icon blinked innocuously, reminding me of the texts I had deliberately left unread. Jake and I had been officially together for 2 months now, but it felt like we had known each other for a lifetime. We had met at a mutual friend's party, and our connection had been instantaneous. Those initial days had been filled with laughter, late-night talks, and an undeniable chemistry that seemed almost magical. But recently, the magic had started to fade, replaced by something darker and more unsettling. The bickering had started about a month ago. It was small things at first, disagreements about where to eat, what movie to watch, who said what during a conversation. But then, the arguments began to focus on something more personal. My ex, Matt. Matt had messaged me a while back, asking to meet up. I had immediately declined and thought nothing more of it. But when Jake found out, he had been furious. "Why didn't you tell me?" he had demanded, his face flushed with anger. "Why is he even still in your contacts?" I had tried to explain that it was no big deal, that I had no intention of meeting up with Matt and that I hadn't even replied to his message. But Jake had insisted that I remove him from my contacts. I refused, feeling it was unnecessary and a violation of my autonomy. I believed that trust was the cornerstone of any relationship, and if Jake couldn't trust me, what did we have? The tension between us had been palpable ever since. And then, the other night, I discovered something that shook me to my core. Jake had gone through my phone while I was asleep. He had seen Matt's message, of course, but he had also searched through my contacts, my messages, even my social media. I could tell because my phone's recent searches were filled with the names of guys I barely knew or had only casual interactions with. Jake had been looking for something, anything, that might confirm his worst fears. When I confronted him about it, he had tried to play it off. "I just glanced over your shoulder when you were on your phone," he had said, but I knew it wasn't true. The evidence was right there, glaring and undeniable. He had invaded my privacy, broken my trust, and now he was lying about it. "I can't believe you don't trust me," I had said, my voice trembling with a mix of anger and hurt. "I haven't done anything wrong. Why can't you see that?" Jake had looked at me, his eyes filled with a mix of regret and defensiveness. "I'm sorry," he had said. I get insecure sometimes. I can't help it." His apology had done little to soothe the ache in my chest. It wasn't just about the invasion of privacy. It was about the fundamental lack of trust. How could we build a future together if he couldn't believe in me? I had told him I needed some space to think, to clear my head. He had reluctantly agreed, but I could see the worrying etched on his face. Now, as I lay in the dark, the events of the past few days replayed in my mind like a broken record. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, the sense that something precious had been shattered between us. I loved Jake, I really did, but I didn't know if I could be with someone who didn't trust me, who felt the need to spy on me to ease his insecurities. The next morning, I woke up early and decided to take a walk to clear my mind. The air was crisp and cool, a welcome relief from the suffocating tension in our apartment. I walked aimlessly, my thoughts a tangled mess of confusion and hurt. I knew I needed to talk to someone, to get an outside perspective on what had happened. I called my best friend, Emily, and asked if she could meet me at our favorite coffee shop. Emily was the kind of friend who always knew what to say, who could offer advice without judgment. I needed her wisdom now more than ever. When I arrived at the coffee shop, Emily was already there, sipping on a latte and scrolling through her phone. She looked up as I approached, her face breaking into a warm smile. "Hey, you," she said, standing up to give me a hug. "What's going on? You sounded upset on the phone." I sighed, feeling a lump form in my throat. "It's Jake," I said, sitting down across from her. "We had another fight." Emily raised an eyebrow. "What about this time?" I told her everything about Matt's message, Jake's demands, the invasion of privacy, and the subsequent fallout. Emily listened patiently, her expression growing more concerned with each detail. "Wow," she said when I finished. "That's a lot." "I know," I said, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. "I don't know what to do, Em. I love him, but I can't live like this. I can't be with someone who doesn't trust me." Emily reached across the table and took my hand. "Listen, Jess," she said gently. "It's clear that Jake has some serious insecurities. And while it's not your job to fix him, it's important to understand where he's coming from. But that doesn't mean you have to put up with behavior that makes you uncomfortable or unhappy." I nodded, wiping away a stray tear. I don't know how to deal with his insecurities. I want to help him, but I don't want to lose myself in the process." Emily squeezed my hand. "That's the key, Jess. You have to set boundaries. Make it clear what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not. If he truly cares about you, he'll respect those boundaries and work on his issues. But if he can't or won't, then maybe he's not the right person for you." Her words resonated deeply with me. I knew she was right. I needed to set boundaries, to make it clear that trust was non-negotiable in our relationship. But I also needed to give Jake the space to work on his insecurities, to show him that I was there to support him, but not at the cost of my own well-being. When I got back to the apartment, Jake was sitting on the couch, his head in his hands. He looked up as I walked in, his eyes filled with worrying. "Jess, I'm so sorry," he said, standing up to meet me. "I know I messed up. I know I have trust issues, but I don't want to lose you." I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the conversation ahead. "Jake, we need to talk," I said, sitting down on the couch. "I understand that you have insecurities, and I'm willing to help you work through them. But you have to understand that what you did was not okay. Going through my phone, lying about it, that's not how a healthy relationship works." Jake nodded, his expression earnest. "I know, Jess. I was wrong. I was just so scared of losing you." "I get that," I said softly, "but you need to trust me. If we don't have trust, we don't have anything. I'm willing to stay and work on this, but you need to promise me that you'll work on your insecurities, that you'll trust me and respect my privacy." Jake looked at me, his eyes filled with a mixture of hope and regret. "I promise, Jess. I'll do whatever it takes to make this right." I wanted to believe him, to hold on to the hope that we could get through this together. But I also knew that actions spoke louder than words. Only time would tell if Jake could truly overcome his insecurities and build the trust we so desperately needed. In the days and weeks that followed, things slowly started to improve. Jake began seeing a therapist to work on his trust issues, and we both made a conscious effort to communicate more openly and honestly. It wasn't easy, there were still moments of doubt and frustration, but we were making progress. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching a movie, Jake turned to me and took my hand. "Jess, I just want to thank you," he said quietly. "Thank you for giving me a chance to make things right. I know it hasn't been easy, but I'm committed to working through this with you." I squeezed his hand, feeling a surge of warmth and affection. "We're in this together," I said. "As long as we keep talking and trusting each other, we can get through anything." And in that moment, I knew that despite the challenges, we were on the right path. We were building a foundation of trust, one step at a time. It wasn't perfect, and it never would be, but it was real and it was ours, and that was enough. As time went on, we continued to grow and learn from each other. Jake became more confident and secure in our relationship, and I learned to be more patient and understanding. We both made mistakes along the way, but we always came back to the same promise, to trust each other and work through our issues together. Looking back, I realized that the struggles we faced had made us stronger, more resilient. We had faced our fears and insecurities head-on, and in doing so, we had built a bond that was deeper and more meaningful than I could have ever imagined. Life wasn't always easy, and there were still moments of doubt and uncertainty. But as long as we had each other, I knew we could face whatever challenges came our way. And that, more than anything, was what made our love so special and enduring.